There's a new me coming out, and I just have to live, and I wanna give. I'm completely positive. I think this time around I am gonna do it like you never knew it. Oh, I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of the shell.
Welcome to the show, Never Too Late Ever, where we focus in on making your chapter, the next chapter, the very best chapter of your life. I am your host, Lorraine Hoving from It's About Time, and I am so glad you are joining us today. This day will change your life. Open your heart, your ears, and listen. You will find a gem, a treasure that you can apply to your life today. Well, my guest today is Mickey. Hi, Mickey. How are you doing?
Hello, Miss Lorraine. How are you today?
I love your accent. I love it.
Well, that is so good because I'm not pretending at all.
It somehow sounds very gentlemanlike and very polite.
But it also sounds fun, right?
Right, fun.
Yes.
So let me tell the audience a little bit about Mickey today. He is a comedian, so that's why that's why he's a lot of fun, and that's why I'm excited about today. Mickey Bell is quickly becoming one of the most sought after entertainers. His quick wit and his ability to entertain crowds of all ages has him performing on stages all across America. His shows are high energy and more than just corny church jokes. Comedian, we know what those are like. Comedian Mickey shares funny stories from his life experiences. From an early age, Mickey has always been the one to stand out in the crowd, not because of his awesome size, but from his ability to lighten up any mood or situation. He is no stranger to the stage since he started standing up in front of people at the age of 10. Mickey proves that you don't have to use vulgar language, which I appreciate, to get people to laugh. You simply, I love this, have to look around within the church or around the world to find plenty of comedic material. Now, isn't that true?
Yes.
So one thing I love, Mickey, is that I have always loved to make people laugh too. I always see the glass as full, never half full.
Yes.
I see it full and overflowing. So that's something we have in common. But I'd like you to tell us a little bit, take us back to when you're a child at 10 years old. What kind of home were you brought up in so that suddenly you were, being able to be on stages? Were those in the church?
It was in the church, but it was also in school. I was taking part in all of the talent shows. I would take part in all the school plays. I always wanted a speaking part. I always wanted the spotlight because I wanted people to see my beautiful face. And so I was always wanting to make people laugh and entertain them because it was a way for me to kind of shed the light away from my insecurities. And there were insecurities that I actually would not recognize until later in life. I knew they were there, but I did not recognize them as a problem until I became a little older.
Right. And you've entitled today's talk, Bouncing Back from Mistakes and Bad Decisions.
Yes.
So let's talk about a little bit about your journey and then how you realized that actually what you were doing with a lot of your humor was covering up some of the insecurities inside. So let's dive in.
Most definitely. If you research the lives of most comedians, you will find that we are all messed up. We all have issues. We all have things that make us who we are. Now, for those like you who enjoy comedy and who enjoy to laugh, you're okay with that, but it's a struggle for us. And for me, I started making some very bad decisions in my marriage. I started making some bad decisions as an adult. because of the fact that I had an insecurity of abandonment issues. And a lot of that came because at the age of 13, that is when my mom and dad sat me down and they explained to me that they were not my real mom and dad, that I was actually adopted.
Not until you were 13? 13 was that the age? Wow.
Yes, 13 years old. So in a matter of moments, my life just more or less got turned upside down. But I didn't realize it because in that moment, I was hurt, but I was also strong enough to cover it up. But I was also strong enough to realize that I had a good life. My mom and dad that were raising me had given me a good life. And they even offered, they said, we can take you to your parents and we can introduce you and we know right where they are. And Lorraine, I can remember the statement I made that day at 13. I remember I said this to my mom and dad. I said, no, because if they did not want me then, I don't want them now. And, you know, that was the attitude that I had about it. And all through life, from that moment, people would always say, you need to go find out who your family, they deserve to know who you are. And I just took that stance. I just did not want to know. Well, when I became an adult and I started making some poor decisions that almost cost me my family, that almost cost me my marriage, when I started getting help for that and we started digging in deep, I started realizing that I was always trying to have a backup. No one was ever really good enough for me at that time. I would have a wife, but I needed a backup. And I look back over my teenage years, and that's the way my dating life was. I could have a girlfriend, but I was always afraid that she was going to walk out on me. I was always scared of that. And it didn't matter because I always thought, now, I'll tell you what, I'll give her my class ring, and then I'll know that we're good. And then once she had my class ring, it still wasn't good enough. I still did not have that confirmation that everything was going to be okay. So then I started going into this mindset of if I can just get engaged, then this feeling will go away. And you know what? I got engaged to some people. Some. Lorraine, did you hear me say some? That's not normal. Lorraine, that's not normal.
Hey, Mickey,
but I got engaged. Yes.
I have a quick question because do you think the root of that was because your adopted parents were kind of like your backup parents and somebody are the vice versa, and somebody had let you down, so you were always scared of being let down again? Is that kind of it?
Absolutely. I was afraid of people walking out of my life. But here's the thing. I did not recognize that. In the moment and during my time of growing up, it did not hit me that was the issue and that was the problem. It wasn't until I was in my late 30s sitting in a counselor's office fighting for my marriage and fighting for my family that we came to the realization that my issue was I'm afraid of people walking out on me.
Right.
So we got to the point that even when I was married and even with my wife, and though I loved her and I cherished her, I still had that feeling. What happens if she leaves me? And I think at the age of 13, I made a vow to myself that I never would be alone again. And so subconsciously, I was always creating a backup plan. So just in case this friend walked out on me, I always had a backup plan on who I could run to. And it forced me. It caused me to make some major mistakes in life. But the whole positive side of the story is the fact that you can bounce back from that because I did.
Right. And it's the thing that you didn't realize why you were acting out. Like I had my brother die suddenly at 5 years old, and my adored father die suddenly at the age of 11. And from that point on, and you bury those feelings, but I always thought in life, as soon as I'm happy, something bad's going to happen. I just know it. And I did not discover some of why I had my obsession with food and ended up at 275 pounds until I was 50 or 60 and dug deep into that and ended up in forgiving a lot of people in my life that
Yes.
so yeah, so I can relate, and I think it's those things that happen to us like at 11 or 12 or 13. They're just so impressionable, and we don't know how to deal with them, so we just kind of stuff them under.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I did, because I didn't, my family, they loved me, and we were a very spiritual family, but my family was not the type to say, hey, let's go get some counseling. Back in the 80s, counseling
Yes.
wasn't popular.
Right.
You didn't go to counseling unless you tried to take your life.
Right.
And I wasn't there yet. So I did not realize until I became an adult. But once that light bulb went off, I looked back over my life and I thought, I can remember things as a child that I would do that related to this. Now, here's what's so powerful about this, Lorraine, is the fact that my biological parents put this on me without even knowing me.
Mm. Right.
They put that on me without ever laying eyes on me, without ever hugging me, without ever speaking to me. They were able to put this on me, and I had to live with it for the rest of my life, and I didn't realize that it had been put on me.
Right. I totally get that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I felt abandoned by my father because he died, but it doesn't necessarily make sense, but I felt abandoned. And until I realized I needed to forgive him, or realize that I needed to forgive my bully brother, in the fact that they didn't know what they were doing themselves either. So,
Exactly.
yeah. And that's where the freedom came for me. How about for you? What was the key?
Well, the key was when I came face to face with my mistakes. When I made the mistakes I made, and in my moment of depression, because I went into a year-long depression where I did not even want to get out of the bed. I wanted to take my life. I didn't want to live. And so then when I finally surrendered to wanting to go in to get some help, then we started diving into what's causing me to think the way that I think.
Right.
And I had never gone down that road before. And once we started going down that road and we started pinpointing some things in my life, the light started going off, and I started realizing, oh my goodness, now I've got to start combating this evil that was put on me. And the moment, because here's the thing, once you realize who the enemy is, that's when you can start defeating the enemy.
Right.
It's those moments that you are just swinging in midair without connecting with anything that you wear yourself out, and you get tired and you think, I'm not getting anywhere with this. Well, a lot of people are swinging, but they're not hitting anything. The moment that I started realizing what the enemy was in my life, then I was able to start addressing the fight toward that enemy. And you know what? I started winning.
Right. Right. Exactly. So tell me this, you made it through your marriage, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We're still together as of today. Now, I don't know about tomorrow, but as of right now, we're still together.
I always tell my husband about 5 days before our next anniversary, because we've been married 44 years. I always say, well, we may make it. If we just are quiet for the next week, we may make it to our 44th. And we
yes.
But
I have always lived under this statement that we are all one decision away from stupid. And so I know that any moment in time, I can mess things up. So at this moment, we are happily married.
How long, and do you have children?
We are celebrating 22 years of marriage.
Wow.
And I have one daughter that just turned 21 yesterday.
Wow.
And so we have fought through this thing, and you know what? We're winning. And
yes,
I think that the one thing we started realizing is that we began winning when we started realizing the enemy, but when we started investing to help other people. Because I know you're going to be able to agree with this. Because in the situations that you've been through and the situations that I have been through, I started realizing that I actually help myself when I'm helping other people.
Right.
So it's while you and I are talking right now, and I feel like that I'm investing into the life of your listeners.